take a mental health break with the Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba and U Radio.
Thank you, Ryan. It's our pleasure to be here. Every time we connect and we do this, it's always another interesting topic. I thought that this time we could talk, Ryan, about mental well-being of our seniors. The pandemic certainly has taught us a lot. While we have started to normalize conversations about mental well-being, we found that during the pandemic, and most people know this anecdotally, and that seniors were one of the hardest hit groups because of the isolation and the loneliness that they experienced because they were unable to be with their families, unable to see their grandchildren, and just socializing because many of them are in retirement but not able to do much. So we started to see that, the impact of that. So we thought it was important for us to facilitate and have a way in which we can support our seniors in our community across the province.
I think for many families, they probably have experiences trying to connect with loved ones during the pandemic, having to be within your own little circles, your little areas to ensure the health of individuals. I know looking at a ton of different senior care facilities or health facilities that for the health of the individuals there, you couldn't visit people, which
exactly, Ryan,
incredibly frustrating.
Very frustrating. It was very frustrating for me, for our family personally. My dad was in a care home during COVID. He had actually been there before that. But during COVID, we could not visit him. We couldn't see him. There was no way. And my father, I have to say, he was an indirect casualty of COVID because he gave up hope. He was suffering from dementia. During the time that he was in the nursing home. And he just felt that his family had given up on him. He didn't understand what was going on. And he basically just gave up and he stopped eating. He stopped, engaging because he couldn't understand. We couldn't even go to explain anything to him. So he did pass away. And I know it was from loneliness and from just the sadness combined with the dementia that he was experiencing and some other health issues that he had at the time. But so that had a very direct impact on us as a family.
It's one of those really difficult decisions, right? What do? You have to maintain the health of individuals, but trying to also balance that mental health aspect. Sometimes it feels like it's a lose-lose situation sometimes. And
definitely, Pam hears about that sometimes in the group that she runs for our Tea and Tales, and we'll talk a little bit more. But Pam, you want to comment on some of the things that you hear about?
Yeah, absolutely. The seniors that attend our group here in Winnipeg, I facilitate the group in Winnipeg, and their concerns range. Obviously the big one is the isolation. They feel very isolated and set apart from others, and they're looking for ways to connect and really feel normal again, if you want to use that word. A coworker likes to use the phrase, normal is a setting on the washing machine, and I tend to agree with that one. It's a way for them to come in and connect with one another, find hope, share their stories, reminisce, and feel good when they leave.
It would be important for sort of share a little bit about why we thought this was important for us to do and how it came about. And again, I'll share my personal story on this. When my dad passed away, it sort of gave me some I was going through a process myself, grieving. And what I realized is that I wish that I had had more time to hear the stories that he could tell us, the tales that he could tell us about his youth, about coming to Canada, about, being a premier athlete in India. But I never really got the chance. I also remember the time when I was living in India, very small, young child, that I loved to hear the stories that my grandmothers used to tell me. The tales that they would tell about their life and their experience. And it was always around a fire. And those resonated with me. I still remember those. Those are still so fresh in my mind. I was always after dinner in the evening, and my nani and dadi, and, they would make the tea and all that. And then we would all sit around the fire and hear these stories. And I thought to myself, as a child that had such a huge impact on me, today, as in the environment that we live in, I, as a grandparent, don't often get that chance to be with my grandchildren and share those stories about how I came to Canada, what did we experience, what was my life like back in India. There aren't the opportunities.
It's hard to find the time sometimes.
And the distance that we live, my grandchildren are all in Ontario. I try to visit as often as I can. We try to connect over using technology and all as much as, but that ability to share that. And so I thought, I'm not the only one who's experiencing this. I'm sure there are other seniors who are, my age, but they want to talk about their lives. So if you can't talk about your life and you share your tales with your family and your grandchildren, why not share it with each other? Give yourselves an opportunity to reminisce, as Pam said. It's really important to reminisce. So that's the reason why I thought it was important. So we started a small group. I think in the first session, we only had 2 people. We ran it in our little living room here on 4th Street in our office. And those were repeat participants. So they only talked with each other. They talked with me. We had a few other staff members who would attend. And then the group grew larger. Many of the people were from the same building, and we ran it in the little restaurant that's just down the hall here. And it grew and it grew. And now I'm going to give it to Pam, who can tell you how much it's grown and what do we do in that.
Yeah, we're really excited about the growth of this program. As Rita said, it started with 2 people in Winnipeg, and now we have grown. We're actually delivering it across the province right now. And doing this little exercise today, we realized we are offering it every day of the week.
Wow.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we've expanded into Lactabani. We run tea and tales there every second Monday of the month from 1:30 to 3 p.m. And we are in Winnipeg every Tuesday from 1:30 to 3 p.m. And now we're in Manitoba. It's actually starting in September 18th. We're going to be kicking off every Wednesday from 10:30 to 2 p.m. And that'll be at the Manitoba 50 Plus Activity Center. And then Selkirk has been really going well. We've got an incredible volunteer facilitating out there, Susan Berry. It runs out of Gordon Howard Inn, and that's every Thursday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And lastly, Brandon started a second group. They had run it for a group, but they changed location. So they're now starting September 6th. They're going to be every Friday from 10:30 to 12 out of the Rotary Villas Crocus Gardens.
I really appreciate that there's such a wide area of locations that this programming is offered, because, when we're talking about healthcare in other areas, often rural areas are very neglected in terms of healthcare, and mental health is another form of healthcare. So it's great to see that there's these opportunities and options for people across the province.
That's really important for us, Ryan, because we are a provincial organization. So we want to make sure that we serve constituents across the province. And the need and the request for services continues to come to us. So while we would like to certainly do more, we are somewhat limited by the resources that are available in the communities and the resources that we have in terms of funding. We are making every effort to make sure that all of our programs are delivered across, and they're open to everyone.
Yes.
And we're not targeting any one particular cohort or group. Our programs are, and so we are very, very encouraged that we are getting a diverse clientele in terms, not clientele, I don't want to use the word client, but we are getting diverse people who need the support that's needed out there, because the conversations about mental well-being, mental health are becoming more normalized. And so we're slowly chipping away at that stigma that has been there. So, Pam, maybe you want to talk about some of the things that you cover in the sessions.
Yeah, how have things changed within these like circles and conversations?
That's a really good question. So I guess it started out more informally, like similar to our peer support groups. We've got guidelines and things like that. But it really has grown to be more structured per se. Like, for example, in Winnipeg, we follow an agenda every week. And, we work through our group guidelines and we do a check-in. We like to stay focused on positive, something that we're grateful for each week. And we'll share that with the group. We do a guided meditation, a 5-minute guided meditation together to just kind of drop our shoulders and relax.
Kind of like set a nice baseline for
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah, it really works well. We do a show and tell feature, which is a big hit for the group. They love bringing in pictures and stories
Memorabilia and
artwork they've created. And actually that's spawned another really cool event that we're going to be hosting in the fall, an arts and crafts market on a Friday afternoon featuring MDAM staff, volunteers, and any participants that join our groups who want to share. So we're excited for that. We've also brought in guest speakers from time to time. One was a former member of our board who was a pharmacist, and he talked about kind of the dangers around benzodiazepines, which is a very common drug that's prescribed for anxiety. A lot of seniors are prescribed this medication, and we just wanted to kind of share a bigger awareness around it because there is some alarming news around that one. So that was a really good guest speaker that we brought in, and that video is actually up on our YouTube channel.
So, we've covered some topics like, broadly isolation, loneliness, some things. What are some other conversations or concerns that seniors are having and bringing up during these conversations?
Oh, that's a really good topic. Everything from, the state of the world, wars that are happening. Absolutely. A lot of seniors deal with loneliness. They're separated from their families. Quite a few of the ones that attend our groups, their families live quite a distance away. So they don't get to visit in person, and they really miss that in-person interaction. I would say the number one is the lack of connection. They really want to connect, but it ranges. The topics range from, we talk about recipes sometimes. Ladies will...
And how the conversation is going, it will change. So someone may be able to identify, oh, yeah, I experienced that. And that's what this peer support model is all about, right? So one person might say something, oh, I experienced that. This is how I managed it. Oh, that happened to me. Whatever the situation might be. So that interaction and sharing of information and listening is really critical. So it's hard to say any one particular topic is takes precedent or more common. It's a range. Everything from I'm feeling really depressed today. Why? What happened? To I'm so excited about going out to see my kids next week. To that elation. So again, a real range. But I have to add one thing, because we call it Seniors Tea and Tales. We always offer tea, coffee,
delicious.
And lots of cookies.
Absolutely.
And many now we in the Winnipeg group, the people have started to bring in their own baking. So the camaraderie has just grown.
Yeah, it gives that sense of connection. Like, as you're mentioning, some people have relatives, their kids, grandkids far away, which can be incredibly frustrating trying to find a way to have those in-person connections. Because I would agree that virtual connections is not the same, although it does help in terms of the long time, but it can be frustrating. So in those conversations of connection, what are some things that people are talking about to help get through those times? Or what are some other tools or techniques that they're utilizing to ensure those connections, whether it's virtually having those opportunities or making the most out of when they do have those in-person visits?
2 of my grandchildren are COVID babies. So I got to know them, or they got to know me through a screen until I could actually go and visit them and hold them and hug them. So they were more comfortable talking to me on the screen than they actually saw me in real person. So that in itself is an experience. I mean, as a grandparent, you have to take a deep breath and say, okay, this is what's happened to me. This is how I wasn't expecting this to happen, but it does. I think some of the topics that come up in these conversations, but we don't even realize that they're impacting our well-being and our thinking, is about, often we'll say, well, that's how I raised my children. And that's what I did for mine. This is how it was back in the old days. And this is what we did. Sometimes in a genuine attempt to offer support and advice to new parents or to parents of young children or teenagers. Sometimes it's well received, and sometimes it's not. So those all things, little things that make an impact on you, and it impacts your well-being as well. So I think it's a whole host of circumstances that we experience in everyday life that impact our well-being. And speaking more specifically to our diverse community, the rich, diverse community that we have in Manitoba, with people from all over around the world, there's still a lot of stigma in a lot of communities about mental well-being, mental health. And so many of the seniors that are either living with their with young families or helping take care of grandchildren and all, if they're experiencing some of this loneliness and other emotions, they don't necessarily want to share those because they're still very stigmatized, and they don't want to be seen as a burden on the families that they're living with, or So again, Ryan, it's always a mixture of emotions that brings people up and down. But if people know that they have support and they can go somewhere and talk to someone, I think that's half the battle. And my message to your listeners would be, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you don't want to do it directly, get someone to help you, guide you through it, to help connect you. We've had that situation as well. Pam, I think we've had people who don't want to connect with us directly, but indirectly, and then we find a way to support them. So you want to talk about some of that?
Absolutely. And that actually brings me back to your original question too. Some of the things that we've worked with seniors on: housing, food security, finding those supports, like connecting them in with our sister organizations and with the other seniors organizations out there, like Age and Opportunity. It's a great example. Just recently referred a senior into their Connect program. So there's
everyday life.
It's just really meeting them where they're at, helping them as best that we can. If we don't have the resource, then making that referral to somebody that can.
So it's about creating that ground floor where individuals are like, it's okay to talk about your struggles. It's okay to reach out if you need help. But also for when we're looking at like family units or larger families and things, creating that space where people can feel comfortable to start having those conversations, where it's like, whether it's me as a grandchild, it's like, hey, I'm an adult now, Grandma. You can talk to me about some things. I've developed some experience as well that I can share with you, and vice versa.
And
Absolutely.
It's so amazing that especially preteens and teenagers get very, very attached to their grandparents. They do. And sometimes they'll share more with their grandparents than they will with their own parents. I know my daughter was very, very attached to her grandmother. She lived with us. And so when she passed away, it was my daughter, who was at that time 14 or 15 when my mother-in-law passed away. She decided that she was going to give the eulogy. And so those kinds of attachments are still really, really important. Not still there, they will always be important. I think that seniors have so much to give, so much wisdom, the life experience that they bring. That must be shared with a new generation.
Exactly. It's like the difference between like intelligence and wisdom, right? Like you can have like all this knowledge from books and everything, but you need to be able to have that life experience and wisdom, or at least learn from someone who has those experiences to utilize that knowledge you gain.
Absolutely, leverage it. And that's something I take. It's so fulfilling to me as the facilitator of this group, because I walk away from that group every week feeling so full, so my cup is full. I've learned so much from this group, common sense things, ways they used to do things,
little hacks in your kitchen.
Oh, there are so many things that have been lost in terms of everyday stuff. Like I'm trying to learn how to pickle, dry foods now. And I mean, it is a frustrating experience, but it is a lot of fun.
It is. It truly is. And that's this group. We have a lot of fun. Everybody, by the end of the session, most people are leaving lighter with a smile on their face, and they are thanking everybody. Thanks for another great meeting. I'm looking forward to it.
And the friendships that have come out of these groups.
Incredible friendships.
There's a core group within the Winnipeg group that meet for lunch every Tuesday before the session starts. And that's really important. And those people, they become important in each other's lives, enough to make that time, because it's valuable time. Everyone's time is valuable. To be able to give your time to anyone is the biggest gift that you can give.
Pam, you were mentioning sometimes you invite guest speakers to talk about it, one being about the anxiety medications. Are there other topics or things that you're thinking about talking about? Because I know phishing scams or other internet scams are incredibly prevalent, and we hear so many stories of people being taken advantage of them.
Yeah, that's actually a really good topic for future, to be honest. Technology. I'm working with the MHERC library to hopefully deliver some type of technology training. There's a grant that we didn't quite get the grant, but we got access to the booklets. So the booklets are now in the MHERC library, but it's about teaching seniors how to use iPads and how to use them effectively and efficiently. So that was something that we talked about. I really let the group kind of guide the topics, as things come up. And if we talk about it more than once, it's
be like, oh, this is something that we should be talking about because, this is something people are questioning about.
Yeah. We haven't done a lot of guest speakers, but we are really looking to that in the future and open to ideas.
And sometimes we just wait, the community members might say to us, I would love to talk to your group about something like this. And we would welcome those kinds of requests. If there's something that with your listeners, if there's a topic that they feel is important for seniors, it could be anything from the financial health and well-being of an individual to IT scams or banking scams. Those travel would be another great one. I think would be a topic that many would love to hear more about. How can you keep yourself safe? What are some of the things you look for? Traveling, those kinds of things. I think those topics have come up over time. We are always welcome subject matter experts on these topics who could come and volunteer their time and their knowledge and expertise to us. So we welcome those opportunities.
And I'd also like to bring in guest speakers from partner organizations like Age and Opportunity, for example, to just kind of come in and expand on what they offer in terms of their services and programs.
Oh yeah, connects people as you're talking about housing or other areas.
Exactly.
It can be hey, if someone's a little nervous talking about that, having the expert there talk about it, then they're oh, I should reach out to these people. It can help it in a more gentle way.
Absolutely.
Another one would be volunteering. The importance of volunteering. How can volunteering help you with your own well-being and giving back to the community? That's another great topic that we would love to explore even further.
And many of our seniors actually do volunteer. And we've got some volunteering with us.
So if someone's wanting to attend some of these sessions, or they're interested in learning more about MDAM's programs and services, where can they go?
They can go to our website, www.moodmb.ca, or they can contact myself.
They can contact us directly. All our information is online.
Yeah.
They can send us an email. There's a general mailbox.
Info at moodmb.
That we can get. We direct it to the individual within the office who can best handle the query that people have. Walk-ins. We welcome walk-ins.
Lots of walk-ins.
Yeah. We tried as best as we can to get information out in the community, through hospitals, to doctors' offices, to schools, through community centers. A lot of our information is posted there, that people can get that over there. We also have a very strong social media presence, and Pam is the one who spearheads that. So engage with us through any of our social media platforms.
Absolutely.
Some of it can be direct messaging, private. Nobody has to know what you need. We also welcome people who maybe just want to see what we're about, do a one-on-one with us and get to know us a little bit better. All of our staff are trained to provide one-on-one peer support to individuals. And so that often does open a door for people to think about what can happen, what kind of support they might need. And then we try to, make sure that people are comfortable when they're ready to be part of a larger group. And so that's what we do. But it really, as I've said many times, we're a non-clinical organization. Peer support is our model. The folks that deliver our services have lived or shared experience. And so that itself allows people to open up, to be heard. We do our best to listen as much as we can, because that's what we're here for. And we do our very best to ensure that if we can't provide them with what they need, because their need might be more than just peer support, then we help basically hold their hand and help walk them through a process where they can get that additional support and help. Often people are in therapy or seeing a physician, a doctor, or they may be at different stages of their mental wellness journey. But sometimes those appointments with the professionals that provide those clinical services are quite long in between. So we're here to provide that help fill that gap by listening and helping them to maintain that level of continuity till their next appointment. So that's a very significant part of our service delivery. Many people are experiencing or connected with a healthcare professional that provides clinical support, but they can come to us for peer support in between. So, you get a lot of those requests, Pam, and I think
absolutely. We get people coming off the street often, just looking for peer support or looking for some support. So we do the best that we can, and if we're able to meet with them right then and there, we will. Otherwise, we'll schedule an appointment and they can come back.
And we have private space that people can meet one-on-one. We, of course, safety is number one for our client and for our staff. So we ensure that those factors are addressed.
Thank you for taking a mental health break with the Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba and U Radio. I'm Ryan Funk, and take care.